He's alive!
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Just Born Movies, the review show where we take movies straight to the Hollywood womb and dissect them for you. As always, I'm Manny Classic, and this week with me, my guest, Steve Monahan.
Hello.
Steve?
Good day, everyone. How's it going?
Steve, what did we see this week?
So we saw A Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time is about a little girl whose father gets lost in the universe, and through the power of love, she goes to go find him.
You were a top student, but look at you now. You can't keep using your father's disappearance as an excuse to act out.
Is that his work? What's it about?
Their dad, he wanted to touch the stars.
Alright, Steve, what'd you think about it?
So I've got to say that I had watched this not watched it, but read it as a child. Wrinkle in Time, probably in elementary school, and at the time I didn't even realize what it was. It was just required reading when I was in elementary school. Didn't realize that eventually it would be one of my wheelhouse type books, where it's science fiction kind of blended with this very heartfelt undertone storyline. So it's been many years since I read the book, so luckily I was able to go into the movie with kind of a clear slate. And I think they did an amazing job in terms of its storyline and the feel that they were trying to get from the book. The idea that good and love and light can overcome any darkness. And they really showed that very well through the entire film. I feel there were probably a couple things that I could nitpick about it, such as the little overuse of CGI in the beginning, but they really kind of ironed it out towards the middle and end components of the movie. I think some of the costuming was amazing. I really enjoyed it. The costume changes were amazing, especially with Mrs. Whatsit. She was fantastic.
Okay, so let's talk about the cast, because you already mentioned Miss Whatsit, who's played by the brilliant Reese Witherspoon. The Misses are played by Reese Witherspoon, Oprah Winfrey, and Mindy Kaling.
Right.
Then we also get performances by Chris Pine, who last time we saw him was Wonder Woman, I believe. Then we get the child actors, who honestly I don't remember any of their names. Sorry.
Yeah.
Those will just flash the bottom roughly now-ish. But yeah, let's talk about this cast and kind of what they brought to the table. What do you think?
So I think they did a phenomenal job at keeping the big name actors into kind of this almost to the side, really. They allowed the child actors, the newcomers as it were, to really blossom in this film. Some of the, such as Chris Pine, who was a part in the beginning and then he disappears, and it's not towards the end that you see him again. So he's not huge. He's a huge part of it, but he's not hugely involved in the movie itself and the action that's going on in the middle. The misses were designed beautifully. They were designed as supporting members, and they kind of stayed that way. They didn't get over the top, especially with big names like Oprah Winfrey and Reese Witherspoon. You can find that these folks could very well easily kind of overshadow the kids, but they don't. They do a great job of keeping to the side. And then just small kind of outtakes like Zach Galifianakis playing his role, just a quick drop in, a little bit of humor, a little bit of seriousness and touchingness. But the kids themselves, I thought, did an amazing job at trying to display that inner turmoil, especially with the female character Meg, where she's dealing with the loss of her father, as well as trying to be a good person, return to the person that she either wants to be or used to be. And then the younger child, I forget the character's name right off the bat. Charles Wallace, there he is. Noticing that he's not quite as affected and is not torn in two because he was such a small child when Chris Pine's character ends up disappearing. So I think they did a phenomenal job. I would just say that I'm probably, I understand the book series and how they kind of brought these characters together. The movie was kind of interesting, how they just kind of threw the male character again. I'm lost the names.
Calvin, that's right.
Yeah, Calvin. So they kind of he just shows up to the party, and you get one brief snippet of him on the soccer field, but he doesn't say anything. He's just kind of looking on in that moment, and then appears and becomes a major role in the movie for almost no particularly good reason outside of a feeling that he had to be there. But he did a good enough job to kind of support the other two characters. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd also like to point out Rowan Blanchard, who some of you might know from Girl Meets World. She plays a very small part in the film, but she actually is kind of the catalyst for the internal struggle as to the main character Meg's turmoil, because at school she's consistently bullying her. We get snippets of that, and then eventually you find out she's also her next door neighbor, so it's almost like the things that I hate are just a mirror next to me. Like,
Right.
She consistently has to see this person that's bringing up her flaws and things like that. And if you haven't seen Girl Meets World, you missed a really magical show that ran very short. She does a phenomenal role playing the complete opposite of the character she played in that show, so there's that as well.
I also liked how during the events in the cave, where Zach Galifianakis and company, along with the missus, kind of show Meg some of the sides that you don't see, such as in that character where they bring up the fact that she is haunted by her own self-image, and so she's constantly concerned about her weight. She has a sign up that says no carbs, no sugars, no soda, all this kind of stuff, and shows this really tortured side of her as well. And so she's using the torture that she has inside her to kind of blast it out to the world and to Meg. And so Meg kind of understands, well, this is now where she's kind of coming from. This is why I've been getting this. So I think that kind of adds that next level of depth to it as well.
Yeah, that the entire scene in this cave with Zach Galifianakis' character, the happy medium, tends to, when they start exploring their own minds, it becomes almost like a montage type thing, and you get a lot of background on a few of the characters that you don't necessarily see a lot in the film, but they provide emotional catalysts that either spark the beginning or the resolution of the film in different ways. You get It, which is pretty much the embodiment of hatred that's kind of forcing its way into people's lives, and this scene in particular I think is the emotional kind of much the same way the characters are literally balancing on stones. This is the emotional balance of the film. It kind of starts bringing the resolution together of finding your inner self and what's really important to you, and I think it was beautifully shot. So besides the cast, there's occasionally some wonky CGI, but overall I think the movie is beautiful. The cinematography is really great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, kind of early on, it was almost overdone. So such in the case in the beginning of the movie when they finally test her to their first planet, Uriel is very CGI'd out. It's pretty much them walking around on the green screen, and I think it's a little overdone there, but then they start to really shore it up as you go deeper into the film. You get to the cave, you can tell a little bit there that the rocks, and the foot alignment aren't quite lined up correctly, but again, that's kind of a nitpick sort of thing. And then by the time they reach the home world of It, they really start to hit a good stride with the CGI and kind of blending the CGI with real world or live action shots. So I really liked once we got to the home planet It, and I can't recall what it's called right off the top of my head, but how it moves, how it changes its face over time. I thought it was a really neat effect how they did that, where they move from the forest type area that was under a tornado basically to the weird Stepford housewife kind of neighborhood, and then moving to the beach, and then finally into Central. I think those components were well put together.
Yeah, the entire ending of the film is just really gorgeous to look at. They did a lot of great stuff, not only by I think adding a lot more practical effects towards the end of the film, but also there's a vibrancy to the shots in particular. At one point, the main part of Central is just almost like this white dome. If anything, it looks like what I would imagine the inside of a golf ball to look like. So who knows if that's another thing. But yeah, it's In particular, the film does its CGI better than most. The cinematography is great. The pacing at which, or not the pacing, but like the framings are all really great. The colors are vibrant that need to be vibrant, especially towards the end of the film where much of it's the consuming darkness. You still get a lot of detail in the shots and things like that, and there's pops of color that force a sense of urgency onto the characters, especially almost in the end kind of fight where there's tentacles that are glowing and things such as that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just really nice movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, touch on that. Even within the darkness, you still find light, and I think that's a big part of what the message of the story being is that, and especially now since we have so much turmoil in our culture anyway, to have this movie kind of come out and try to tell that story that even in the darkest moments, there's still light, and although the tentacles may or may not have really showed that as an actual message, they're probably more just trying to be a little bit more showy with tentacle action, but I definitely think that that's what I kind of felt from it, especially there at the climax of the film. Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful film.
Let's see, anything else we need to touch on? Oh, music. Personally, music's the only thing that didn't work for me on a consistent basis. I thought the music was fine, but occasionally jarring. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Almost standard fare for most movies like this. They're trying to give you, that sense of hope or sense of magicalness, I guess. So they played to that kind of thing. Nothing over the top, but nothing I could necessarily pick apart either.
Okay. So, I guess that's about it. Steve, on our rating scale, where do you want to put this at?
I'm going to give it a damn great movie, Manny.
Yeah, the acting was good. I thought the cinematography was good. Pacing, maybe they could have messed around with a little bit. I understand it's a children's movie, so they were trying to keep it short, but 10 minutes one way or the other probably could have helped out either way. Music, I think, is a little unusual. For that, I'm going to say it's a damn average movie. Tell us what you think in terms of this film. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did it make you want to go see The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks because you really like Oprah Winfrey? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to check out our other shows. Drinking Age Movies, where me and Paul, the man of constant hatred, review movies from 21 years ago. Damn Fine Meats, where I make damn fine meats and other foods based on those movies. And our new show, a monthly series, Heavy Drinking, where we explore the filmographies or movie series of directors and actors, or just things with related subjects. And as usual... Oh, that's yours. That's not mine. Have some damn fine meats.